School Board meeting for April 16th, 2019 for the Des Moines Public Schools to order. Please take the roll.
Mr. Barron.
Here.
Ms. Bradley. Here. Ms. Langford.
Here.
Ms. Ellsburn.
Here.
Ms. Della Gardell.
Here.
Ms. Caldwell Johnson.
Here.
Ms. Anderson.
The first item of business is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Move approval. Second.
Motion by Caldwell Johnson, second by Della Gardell. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes for April 2, 2019. May I have a motion and a second for approval?
I motion. I move. Second.
Okay, motion by Anderson, second by Caldwell Johnson. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next on the agenda are district recognitions, and I will turn it over to Dr. Ahart.
Good evening, Board. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're so polite.
Let's try that again.
You're awesome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased that we can recognize two teams this evening who recently received statewide honors. First up is Lincoln High School. The student barristers from Lincoln qualified for the Iowa High School Mock Trial Championship held a couple of weeks ago here in Des Moines. At state, their winning arguments earned them a spot in the final round in the Iowa Supreme Court room, where they came home with a state runner-up trophy. I should also note that DMPS was well represented at the state tournament, which is sponsored by the Iowa State Bar Association, as Roosevelt also had two teams that qualified for the state competition. And so now it's my pleasure to introduce the team's coach, Ms. Caitlin Evans, and would like to ask her and members of her team who are with us this evening to come up and share a little bit about the tournament and the experience of being involved successfully in mock trial. Ms. Evans?
All right, so this is the mock trial team from Lincoln High School. They finished second in the state in a close final round against Marion Homeschool Association. It was a split decision, 3-2. These are mostly new to mock trial students. I think about a third of you have done it before. Is that right? Yeah. And in preparation for this, they learn all sorts of fabulous skills they can use, whether they're going into law or some other field, critical thinking, analysis, thinking on their feet, how to present in front of people. And so I'm going to let a couple of the seniors just tell you a quick thing about what they experienced. Jared, come on.
So this is my first year doing mock trial, and I thought this was the greatest experience. Just going in there, not knowing what to expect, and coming out at the Supreme Court building is really cool to get to argue on the floor and be recorded and put on TV. And my dream is to become, a lawyer, become the president of the United States one day.
All right.
So
Okay. All right.
I got big goals, but this is the first step, and I'm so proud of my team here. We worked so hard to get here, and we came up just short, but in my hearts, I feel like we won, and in a lot of these guys' hearts, I feel like we're all winners.
This is also my first year doing mock trial, and honestly, I really didn't know what to expect, and I didn't expect us to make it that far anyway. So I thought it was kind of all just something really fun, which I did have a lot of fun, even when it got so kind of serious sometimes, and I really enjoyed my experience, and I'm so glad that I could end out my high school year with a bang, and just the fact that I've grown like such close relationships with these people that I never even associated with before, except in these past couple months, and I just loved every experience of it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, way to go.
And next, when it comes to the state science fair, Merrill Middle School is becoming a bit of a dynasty. For the second year in a row, the school came home with the Clay Groff Memorial Trophy, honoring the top middle school at the State Science and Technology Fair held earlier this month at Iowa State University. Overall, DMPS had 110 middle and high school students selected to participate in the State Science Fair, earning a total of 51 awards. It is my pleasure to introduce teacher Blake Hammond, who would like to ask him and members of his team who are here to please come up and share with us about the experience and talk about the chances of perhaps a three-peat next year.
Well, I think when you talk about science fair goes all the way back to those beginning roots, and many of you on the panel here and out here get to be that parent when the child comes home and goes, "We get to do science fair." Yes, exactly right. And the excitement level starts off with a very nice low down here of, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then you get the whole army that really goes into science fair. Science fair is amazing because of the process that goes into it, and I don't think we value that enough. That these students, they start at the Merrill Science Fair, they present to a group of judges. Thank you to people who volunteer from all over this community. That's where our partnership comes into play. Merrill Middle School, Wells Fargo is our business partner, and they'll bring 50 or 60 folks, and they love to sign up. We have more people that will volunteer than we can even take as judges. Like, how often does that happen? It's like never, where there's a line of people that want to come. These guys present to them. And then they have that winning spirit. Then they go to the city science fair and they do it all over again. A whole different set of adults that comes, more volunteers. And then they get to go to Hilton Coliseum and spend 8 hours standing by their project going, "Are you my judge? Are you going to be my judge? Are you going to be my judge?" And to get all the way to the end of the day when they've spent in a room with 500 or 600 other middle schoolers, and we have no idea. You get to the end and they're like, there's the name Merrill Middle School. And really more than that, I mean, it's great that we were recognized, but to see Des Moines Public Schools over and over again on that sheet with 51 different awards is amazing. And I think for us, whether we can three-peat or not, who knows? There's a little school, if you know Science Fair, the other school is Central Lee down in Donaldson, Iowa. They make they love their science fair. It's a class for them. They celebrate their kids and they send them off right. And so, sorry, Central Lee, I'm sure no one is listening, but it's Merrill Middle School now that's going to make the science dynasty. But I think we need to set those goals for 51 was a great Des Moines number. Let's make it 61 next year, and let's continue that, because this is what science is all about, is these guys here doing it, sharing it with the community. And honestly, as a teacher, I sort of feel like I should step aside because it's not really about me. It's about all the work that these guys did behind me.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, and congratulations. The next item on the agenda is the consent items. We allow any person the opportunity to speak to the board for up to 5 minutes following the presentation of an agenda item. If anyone wishes to speak to an agenda item, please go to the information desk to sign up. Remarks must be germane to the agenda, and we ask that you avoid reference to personalities and character attacks, as those types of comments serve no productive purpose. We appreciate your input. As a reminder to the board and public, the board will not engage in discussion or deliberation with the speaker regarding comments made to agenda items. Discussion and deliberation will remain among board members at the board table, with speakers' comments informing said discussion, deliberation, and determinations as deemed necessary. Ms. Anderson, do you have the motion?
Yes, I move that the board approve the consent items in accordance with the recommended action for each item on the consent agenda, including bills previously authorized, certified, and approved for payment by the board secretary in the amount of $3,708,260.49. And P-card amount transaction of $532,590.10.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Anderson, second by Caldwell Johnson. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next, we have a public hearing. The public hearing will come to order. Is there anyone wishing to speak to item E1, public hearing for renovation to Walker Street for Boys and Girls Club? Hearing no one, I will close the public hearing. No, we close the public hearing and then,
Yeah.
Superintendent Ahart, will you please introduce the matter?
I recommend the board review the proposed plans and specifications prepared by Envision Architecture for renovation to the Boys and Girls Club at Walker Street, hold a public hearing, and approve the plan.
Thank you. We do have a presentation, and I will turn it over to Bill Good and the others at the table.
Thank you very much. Jody Worth, CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, will begin this for us.
Do you want me to stay here?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again today. So, as he said, I am Jody Worth. I'm the CEO for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Iowa. I've sat in this chair and talked with you on a number of occasions about some of our incredible partnership opportunities that you have passed in the prior. But what I'm really thrilled to talk to you about today is what's going to happen at the Walker Street project. So a little history. The Walker Street project that we will be presenting you today is just one of many projects the Boys and Girls Clubs are working on right now through our Pathways campaign. So we're in the middle of a capital campaign that will complete 4 paths of clubs through our city so that kids can go from an elementary serving club site to a middle serving club site and end their high school career at a high school serving club site. The Walker Street would be that very first high school serving club site, and it would complete our East Pathway. So our kiddos, in partnership with this amazing school district, go from George Washington Carver to Amos Hyatt Middle and would complete their educational career with a Boys and Girls Club by their side, ready to launch them into college with a plan for the future at Walker or East High. So it is my honor to introduce Carrie Wieg, who is an architect for Envision, and she has done some amazing work with this project to get it ready for you today. So.
All right, thank you. We so much appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening to present this project to you. And on behalf of Envision, I want to say thank you to the board for this opportunity for us to work with you. We are working with you at Studebaker also and have done past work on projects with the Boys and Girls Club at the Levitt Club and also at the Baker Club. So we're very excited for this opportunity to continue this partnership with you all. We're going to spend some time just walking through the plans and some renderings that we prepared so you can get a feel for what the club is going to be and what that experience is going to be for your students. The property we're talking about is 1421 Walker Street, which is a building that is just east of East High School. The Boys and Girls Club has their administrative offices there now, and they've been there about 2 years now. So in this plan that's in front of you, I'll just point out some key areas. Everything in this teal color here are the administrative offices. Everything in this red tone here at the bottom, those are East High School dedicated spaces. And then the area to the left on your plan is the club space. So, and then in between, we have quite a bit of community space or shared space between Des Moines Public Schools and the Boys and Girls Club. With that, we wanted to walk you through some of the changes that are going to happen to the club. Looking at the administrative space, we're just going to make some tweaks to modernize that and to adjust for some changing staffing needs and just to get that up to snuff for the Boys and Girls Club. And we wanted to spend the bulk of our time tonight really talking about the club space because it's such a special opportunity for you all. So with that, this first image is the community room, and what you're looking at is we're really looking to provide a multi-purpose space that a lot of different functions can happen and to really look not only what's going to be provided now, but to provide opportunity to bring a lot of different things into the club in the future. To the far back of the space here, you'll see, let me see if I can get my cursor up. There it is. There is a teaching kitchen there. And in that space, the Boys and Girls Club is looking to do some cultural cooking and learning, doing a college survival class of teaching yourself how to prepare meals for yourself. I know my son would benefit from that. And then there will be special events held there and youth-led potlucks. One thing that we wanted to call to your attention is there's a real desire to have a Cooking for the Community event where leadership from across the community could come in and have a special event and talk to to the students and the young people about things that are happening in our own community and why it's important for them to get involved and be concerned. So, other club activities that would happen in this space would be a career builders program, and that's where there would be a partnership with local trade unions and educating about skilled labor needs, which we all know is a real need in our community. There will be workforce development seminars, SAT, ACT, and FAFSA workshops and space to help prepare those documents and getting ready for next steps in life. Homework lab, space for the Keystone Club to meet. And then also we just wanted to mention, you'll see a flavor in some of the renderings of having more of an urban feel. We've been talking with the Boys and Girls Club about how to create dynamic space that will be engaging to students, because it's really important to find a place to really that students want to go to and be at. Some of the critical things, as Jody was talking about, are, we want to have area that there's opportunity to build relationships with these young people and continuing that Boys and Girls Club service to them and a safe place and to really be a resource to them. So moving on then, this is a real fun area in the club. It would be just on the other side of that last image we looked at. To your left here would be a DJ booth where students could come and mix music and play music, the opportunity to have some dances in the space, and again, just really thinking about it, what's going to engage students and keep them coming back. With that, on the right side here, let me get this cursor here, we'll have some gaming stations and just places for the students to hang out. And then in the back, you see a sneak peek into the STEM lab. And we have some doors here that can open up to provide opportunity to provide or to have some larger gatherings in the evenings or special events there. So we really like this area because it's a really fun combination of thinking about kind of a performing arts lab at the DJ booth and then partnering it with kind of a practical learning lab at the STEM lab. So. This here is a view into the STEM lab. We hear a lot of talk about STEM. Some specific things that are thought about for this space is a do-it-yourself STEM lab that is sponsored by Boys and Girls Club of America. It is a set program, so there's educational materials available to help students through a program. There's also opportunity for free, the tables will be movable, so you can look at a lot of different configurations to do different types of experiments. And looking at doing robotics and virtual reality experiments, and also getting into coding and some three-dimensional learning opportunities there. And our last image we wanted to share with you is a gaming area. And we always get questions about, do we need to provide this type of space? I think people know that students appreciate this type of space. And when we do our educational facilities, finding that decompression area for students is some of the most critical space that we design into a building. They're very scheduled. They have a lot of stuff going on. They need a place just to relax and chill and just be themselves. So this is that spot here. And one of the programs here that the Boys and Girls Club is looking at is doing an esports program. It's really popular with the students right now at this high school level, and really looking at how to get in and do athletic sporting events live and in conjunction with other people online, and looking to what the opportunities are with that and character development. We know that there are new collegiate programs related to coding and gaming in our own communities, and really trying to build upon participation levels at this club.
Any questions with what Ms. Carey had laid out for you? Okay, well, if not, I will take us on. So one of the key benefits for our partnership is really the continuation of the school day. So our kiddos need a safe, supportive environment outside of school. So they have you all for breakfast, they have you all for lunch, but they come and they hang out with me for dinner in the evening. And that safe, supportive environment, that continual learning opportunity, that place where that child can find one positive, committed adult in their life to make a difference, that we can say, you really can do it, you really will graduate, let's get your homework done, let's let you hang out and do some gaming, but then we're gonna pull you back into the STEM lab and we're gonna do something that helps helps support whatever's going on in your chemistry class. The other thing that we do that I think is so remarkable is that we have shared outcomes with our buildings, right? So our principals, our administration at your buildings, we have shared outcomes. So together we're better. Together we run at academic success. Together we run at good character and citizenship. Because we know at the end of the day, these students that we serve are our future. We know that we need to deal with some of the challenges that are going on, and I'm just thrilled to say that I'm thrilled to be your partner in dealing with those challenges. And oftentimes, our team members can step in sometimes and support teachers when teachers really need to teach to the rest of the students in the class, right? So we have full-time team members on the ground that can step in and be supportive to our principals and our administrators in the schools that we're located in. And I think I may have touched all of those. The big thing that I think that Boys and Girls Clubs brings to our student body in and of itself is the good character and citizenship. And let me tell you why. So if you, high level, if you can think about a time what your bedtime ritual was as a child, if you can think about that, whatever your parent, whatever your grandmother, whatever your aunt did for you, whatever that was it a bath and pajamas and a snack and a book? Was that what your routine was? And if it was, did you do that routine with your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews? Probably, I'm guessing. I'm not saying any shaking of heads, but I'm guessing you probably repeated it. If you did, I would ask you, why should we assume our students that struggle aren't repeating what they see every single day? And that's where the club steps in. That's where we teach a different way. That's where we can support in that extra time outside of school and say that there's a different way to go about living. There's a different way to go about those next steps, and there's a different way to go about getting to college or getting into a trade or what your future looks like. And I think that's really where we provide ultimately the most benefit to our students.
Okay, as far as the funding goes, as Jody mentioned earlier, part of their capital campaign is they're going to be devoting, and this is an estimated project cost of $1,170,000. It's a major contribution to something great that's going to happen in our building. The school district, though a much lower number, will be associated with some mechanical and some flooring issues that we needed in some of the common areas. So that's estimated.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then as far as the timeline goes, you saw the preliminary plans on April 2nd. Obviously, we're presenting you the final plans this evening. We are looking to have construction start in early summer, and with the new club opening in January of 2020. So with that, this is another great example of a partnership that's very important to us in our school district. And we're very thankful and glad that the Boys and Girls Club are partnering to make a positive impact on our students. So with that, if there's any questions or comments, we would be very happy to answer those.
Before we go to questions and comments, may I have a motion and a second to approve the public hearing and superintendent's recommendation?
So moved.
Second. Okay, now, questions or comments? Anybody?
I had one quick.
Sure.
Can you tell us the hours of programming and what your staffing levels look like?
Absolutely.
And the number of students you anticipate
Absolutely.
actively participating in the program?
Well, right now, we're actively trying to recruit kids from the Flex Academy. So those kids that are in the building anyway, so we're making friends, we feed them breakfast. They come in during snacks, so there's lots going on there, and then we supported them over the holidays over the last couple of years. So our staffing is always 1 to 15, so one adult monitoring 15 kids. So it's not 1 to 15 in the building, it's 1 to 15 direct ratio. So that's always our staffing in all of our buildings. So, and sometimes it's less depending on the age group of children. So our little people, it's more like 1 to 10 for safety reasons. You would expect that there will be 3 full-time staff located at the Walker Street building. So you'll have a unit director, a program specialist, someone who's in charge of all of the programming that goes on in that facility, as well as a membership coordinator. So someone whose sole responsibility is to track our babes coming and going. I want to keep in mind that it's $10 an academic year. No child's ever turned away with an inability to pay. But once you check in and you're in club, you don't get to check out and check back in for safety reasons. So that's will be the staffing, the hours. So we'll be open the minute that school's out. So good rule of thumb, school's out, club is in, almost always. So spring break, Martin Luther King Day, the holidays, all of that, summer. Summer, we're open 7:30 to 9. For our middle school and high school club sites, 7:30 to 6 for our little club sites or elementary serving club sites. For the school year, it would be right after school until 9.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's dope. Tell me.
Anybody else?
And we will feed them dinner.
Thank you. Yep.
Hello, there we go. I am personally jealous of that space. I just think that's such a really cool space that students are going to be able to take advantage of. And thankful that you all are doing that work with students, particularly on the east side where we don't have a ton of things going on for young people right now. So
Our kiddos at the Flex Academy definitely need us most. Yep.
yeah.
Yep, it's a great place to be. We're honored to be there.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that I'm very excited about this, and I think it's a good opportunity for our older kids because we've been hearing.
Yes.
I think I've come on this board not quite like a year and a half. I don't know how long ago it's been. It's been a while, but we've been hearing about elementary, and I hadn't even realized that this was part of the plan. So I'm so excited.
May I share that, so we're at George Washington Carver. Those kiddos moved to Amos Hyatt in that feeder pattern. 76% of the kids that went to Levitt continue at club at Amos Hyatt. So we're hoping, now we know they're high schoolers and they have other things, but the DJ booth will be a hit, I'm telling you. There's gonna be music popping out of there all the time, but we're hoping that we'll continue that level of participation because we know they do better in school. We know they do better socially and emotionally. So we're hoping that we'll see the same trends.
Yeah, and the e-games sounds great too because
Yeah.
I think.
Partnership with Grandview.
Oh, that's what I was
Who
going to
knew?
ask
Yeah.
too. Yeah, that Grandview's got a program. So
Yes.
Excellent. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We do have a motion and a second on the floor, so please vote.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Jody.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening, folks.
Motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda is item F1, open enrollment late applications for denial. Superintendent Ahart, would you please introduce the item?
Yeah, what you have on your agenda tonight is the only one in this, since the last meeting that we've received that was a late application for open enrollment out, and the reason for denial didn't meet these special exception clauses in state code.
Okay, thank you. May I have a motion and a second to deny the open enrollment late application listed for item F1?
I move.
Motion by Barron.
Sure.
Second by Caldwell Johnson.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any discussion or questions? Please vote. Motion passes 7-0. Next item on our agenda is item F2, the management limitation 2.1, treatment of students policy updates. This is a discussion item, and I will turn it over to Kirsten.
Okay, so the last time we had met and talked, I think that there had been some conversation around number 5. Is this the right one?
Mine's opening. So.
Huh.
I'll show you the cut and paste.
Okay, well, I submitted the wrong one then. I don't know how I attached the wrong one to send to Sharon.
So do you have what the updates are that you would like to let us know, or how do we?
Find it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I just need to start titling something like not actually what it is, but something different, because no. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I know it's in my email because I sent it to Deanna and Dwana, but I'm not finding it on my computer now.
My computer's dead, otherwise I would.
Yeah.
Do you have it, Dawana?
Well,
Yeah, she's looking
I-
for her edits.
I
though.
did make
Original
edits. Um,
Is this the one? Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I know I made changes. Whether or not they actually saved is a whole other thing. Yes. So when we look at 5A, I had added operate without promoting ongoing shared responsibility for learning and support of the education system within diverse student populations. And then B, to the end of that, so it originally had said operate without promoting and supporting a structure for broad student involvement in the education system. And then I'd added, because I think there'd been some questions on what that meant, including extracurricular, co-curricular, and other activities based on student interest, age, and community need. And then adding a C, acting without integrity or fairness or in an unethical manner through dialogue and or other interactions. And some of that mirrors, I think, the new language that Cindy had brought for 5AC. And I think that for whatever reason, this is the draft that got sent to Dwana and Deanna and did not get sent to Sharon.
Okay.
So I can send this out.
So from what Kirsten has read, I don't know if anybody has any comments for now.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear that the other changes that were included are ones that we want to consider, or we just want to consider the ones that you mentioned? Sorry.
No, I think that's good to.
I'm not sure what
Clear.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you're asking.
So there were other changes that were noted
Yes,
in
and
this document?
And I thought that we had talked about those at the last time, and the biggest problems that people had was with 5, but I
Right.
didn't actually get any comments from anyone.
Okay, so those
So-
are as is, and 5 is the only one that changes then?
That's the
Since the
only
last
changes
time we
that I made,
discussed.
yes, yep.
Okay,
Yep,
thank you.
sorry, that's,
That's okay. That's okay. I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
I
there's a
was,
C that was
clear.
added. Can you read what 5C was again, please,
yeah.
if you have it?
I think it mirrors one of the policies that we had worked on in work session last time. So acting without integrity or fairness or in an unethical manner through dialogue and or other interactions. So it would mirror something that I think was in the treatment of staff or the treatment of the parents. I think it's in both of those other policies as well, so. And like I said, people had just said they didn't like 5, but I didn't get any comments, so I just tried to write something. So that we can throw all this out and do something new, but.
So I guess the question would be, how do we want to proceed? Does the board feel comfortable with the changes as they've been read in order that we would have this on the next meeting as an action item? Do we want it as a discussion/action item next meeting to give opportunity to make any final revisions prior to taking action?
Could we have a
I'm trying to email it
copy
right
without
now.
the?
yeah. I was going to
without the
recommend,
tracked changes, because sometimes that's a
Yeah.
little difficult
Okay.
to put together, and I haven't seen the C anywhere.
Okay.
The two copies
so our
that
next
you
full
sent.
board meeting is May 7th, correct?
Uh-huh.
So in order to meet the deadline for getting it on the agenda, it would need to be in by April 29th. So that's about a week and a half if we were to get the revised draft. And then if we had any additional comments, we could get those to Kirsten. I can't imagine, I mean, I know I don't. There may be others that do. But then we could still possibly meet that deadline for getting it on the agenda for May 7th. That's what I would like,
That,
unless there's huge opposition to anything.
Mr. Barron?
I just
Yeah,
sent it.
I don't have a problem with taking action on May 7th. Two points, one of them minor, but if we're going to have clauses under 5, then we should either end each lettered item with an and or an or and a comma.
No,
Small thing, but just
Oh,
to,
okay.
just
makes sense.
Just kind of get the, you're talking
I,
punctuation.
I'm assuming they're all ands.
Right.
And then on C, the concept that just struck me is use of the word integrity within the policy. It's kind of a subjective term. I don't know if putting that in there is something that we have to. Is it valid for us to put something in there and then leave that up to board discretion as to what acting with integrity is, or not? And I throw that question out there with no answer expected. Yeah.
Operationalizing that definition would, or operationalizing an operational definition would be for you, so probably some feedback on your part on that as well. So
we have that written down somewhere? 'Cause I didn't
that's
see
the
the
one
C,
that doesn't, yeah.
I was gonna say, I just
do not
sent it.
have the version, so,
That's everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
so, okay. And I don't have my email up.
Well, I guess the other question is, if we think that there is a need to allow more time, we could certainly put it on the 7th for additional feedback and discussion, and then calendar it for the next week.
Let's just do that.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
that.
just
I'd
do
feel more
that.
comfortable with that.
But no, we don't. We don't have, and we do not have
The
we do not
revised
have it out to the
language.
public with the revised version, nor do we have it nor did the board have that.
My only thought is if we have a week and a half until the May 7th meeting, it's not possible for the board to get that, if we get that email copied out to the board before then, for people to give a review and,
Yeah.
I mean, we've already had.
Yeah. I guess the question is, do any of the others of us, outside of the things that Kirsten shared tonight, have anything that we would edit, change, or otherwise delete? Because the challenge is, we don't have a meeting between now and the 7th, so we are really going to be doing our editing amongst each other. And so by the time we get the document in the packet on the 7th, we will not have had an opportunity to vet any additional changes that may come forth. That was my point, Deanna. I don't want to delay it any further, but if we don't get the sense that people are going to have changes, I guess we could proceed, but I feel like we need to give ourselves a little grace around making sure that we're all on the same page. This is a pretty big deal.
And that,
It's really important. We've worked on it for a while, I agree.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to rush the final product just for the sake of getting it on the May 7th agenda.
It could be informational on May 7th, and then if the board's satisfied, go to consent on May 21. It's
Yes.
not really a
Yeah.
material difference.
Well, my other thought is too, is that, I apologize for not getting this out, but I mean, we just basically put what we'd had the last time on this agenda again, and everyone seemed content with it, where I know there was a lot of questions around 5 the last time. So my other thought is, I mean, does it make sense to just go with it without and maybe that's what the board needs to decide between now and May 7th, and that's why it needs to be on for information, of just, did we really need to make changes? Because at the board table, I had gotten the sense that night, the last time we discussed it, that everyone really wanted to change 5, and then I heard nothing. And so that's where I was trying to make a change based on what I remembered the board wanted, but maybe the board didn't actually want that. So I don't know.
I think, I guess, if anybody else wants to weigh in, my preference would be, let's put it as you intended, with the suggestions that Rob made for punctuation, for discussion again on May 7th, and then have a public discussion, give the public the benefit of getting to see the policy as we intend it to be in its form, because I think that's also transparent and fair. And then if we're good with it, then consent for the following meeting. Does that seem okay with everyone? Yep.
I'm fine with me. The only thing that I did on C, I know when we were sending it out and look at it, I just went and changed like the wording a little bit. I think that was for me in reading it, trying to make sense of it. And so I can send that to y'all. And I don't know if you still have that in the email. Yeah. And so that was the only thing I did. My read's just different ways
For you,
that we could possibly word
your
it.
committee
Yeah.
decides to put out as that version and make sure,
Okay.
yep, that's
Okay.
what.
Perfect.
Well, and
is that edited version.
And I think some of my aversion to wanting to, in this one that I just sent you, and wanting to change C too much is that I pulled that off of language from other policy we discussed the last time. And so it seemed like to me that if we weren't okay with the language here, we'd also want to change it in the other two policies. And so that felt like perhaps not a subcommittee conversation, but perhaps the whole board and talking about making those pieces of policy match. Because I think that's what
Consistent, yeah.
consistently, and,
Yep.
and that's what I think that we were trying to do with some of our policies. So maybe what I will do when I will send this out again without the tracked changes, and then just put in some of the other suggestions for C and see if the board members want to reply to me directly is the original. I'll just give you guys some options
Yep,
and
that
just
sounds
reply
fantastic.
and tell me what you
Yep.
want, and then I'll put it
So-
in that for the agenda for the 7th.
So
Okay.
that sounds great. And board, make sure you comply with that timeline if you have any additional information to share with Kirsten to meet that deadline.
So in order for it to be on the 29th agenda, we probably need to have any and everything we're going to do to Kirsten by probably the middle of that week, the 24th.
And again, we'll
try to
have
get
the,
the-
we'll
I'll
have the
try to get this
discussion
out Thursday
opportunity and
night,
the edit opportunity within the meeting, but,
Might be after.
but anything you'd like,
Might be
if
Sunday.
there's something you'd like to see on that option.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item is F3, Board Work Plan. So Kirsten is going to be getting to that work plan, and part of that, one of those items was a preamble type item that we would use each meeting and perhaps shift responsibility for that. Right now, I am going to read, and what the purpose is to remind the board and public of what we set out as far as our governing policies and agreements. So this is a shot at that, which Kirsten and I will continue to review and take any feedback as we go along. So here we go. The board lays out the means by which we agree to governing the district on behalf of the community and for the benefit of our students through our governance process policies and our board management delegation policies. The board self-monitors so that we fulfill this agreement. The board's work plan further details what we've committed to doing to fulfill our governance duty with integrity. According to our governance process policy 1.1.5, the board will allow no officer, individual, or committee of the board to hinder or be an excuse for not fulfilling its commitments. With that in mind, the board's work plan is a standing agenda item as part of our self-monitoring and accountability process. And as part of that process, I am going to turn that over to Kirsten, who will go through that work plan with us.
Okay. I just updated, on my copy, you can't see it, but I updated what we just talked about for the equity policy. Cindy and I are still tackling and working on the preamble, but she has one
something to
for us
start
there,
with.
yes. I still have city council school board joint meeting on our agenda. However, I think from what we've heard, that's probably not happening. I don't want to put it on and done, but it seems strange to keep mentioning it every week when it seems like it might be some time. So I'm wondering if we need to maybe add a new tab of tabled items, or how does the board feel about that? Postponed. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, maybe a TBD and put it at the bottom or something.
Okay, I'll move it. Yep, I'll move it to the bottom.
I hope it's not tabled, but it's.
Right.
Yeah.
We hope that it happens. We're just struggling to find a date, and it looks like we're because we're trying to schedule a whole group of city council folks and staff and a whole group of our board and staff, and to find a date on everyone's calendar that matches. We're into July, and I think still landing on just the shared agenda for that meeting as well. So hopefully it'll happen, but I agree, let's, until we have a date certain, I think we can just put it as TBD and
Okay.
not mention it until it's worth mentioning again.
Okay. For external monitoring, Terry, I think you said you had an update?
I do have an update, so I apologize. I actually had the survey ready and sitting on my desk to bring to you so we could rank those things tonight, and I left it in my haste to get out at 5:37 and a half. So I'm going to load that on SurveyMonkey. It'll just be easier, and I'll send that out to everybody tomorrow. And it's really a matter of taking the 6 or 7 items that we have identified over the course of the last year or so as places where we may be interested in doing external monitoring and ranking those along with any others that individuals may choose to add so that we can use that as a way to really help focus our external monitoring, recognizing that we can't do everything at once, but if we prioritize, we'll at least get those higher order things accomplished. So you should be expecting to get that SurveyMonkey from me tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. As far as the process map vacancy appointment, I think that we have this scheduled not to the second meeting of May, so we'll, suppose it's not really done, but I can probably take it off of here. For our ongoing professional development, our next discussion will be, we'll do section 2 of that on May 7th in a work session following the board meeting. So this is just everyone's reminder to read section 2. And then we're continuing to work on fail to language as kind of an ongoing basis. Do we need to assign someone to continue that work, Cindy?
I
still just have it as ad hoc TBD.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that's already been done, so I think it's a matter of just kind of auditing what still is left before we assign anything.
Mm-hmm. And then this isn't really an update for the board, but more of just an update for everyone else. We're continuing our ongoing discussion of policy governance with next board, and we have a work session tomorrow night, and so they'll be coming back and we'll be continuing to work through that. Yeah, and then we'll be moving into like KPIs, following creation of goals, and
right. And we probably will sooner than later that community workshop for 2019 election.
yeah,
Probably are going to need to start thinking about that pretty quick because that's going to be upon us before we even realize and if we want to have some dates ahead. So maybe that would be worth thinking about at least who would want to be a committee to start taking on some of that scheduling and
probably a
calendaring.
a deadline. Yeah.
And a deadline, yeah. Does anybody off the top of their head know the filing date for, I want to say it's the end of August for the next election? And
Because it's November.
it's a November election now, so.
So I think it used to be the end of July, so probably the end of August.
Does anybody want to start thinking about that as far as being on a committee? I don't, there's none. And, okay.
I can as well. Yeah.
Okay, and I'm happy to, and those who are up maybe don't want to, so, okay. Kirsten, Terry, me, Rob, do you have any, I didn't mean to not look over there, okay. That doesn't mean you won't get an assignment as we. Yeah, okay.
Do we want to set a deadline for ourselves now, or should we, of just when we come back with information for the rest of the board?
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That might help inform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so before the next meeting and kind of have a start back scheduling, great, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have anything that we need to be thinking about in the upcoming months that's not on here? We're like getting to the end of our work plan here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's great. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda are informational items. For the board's review, notification of award of competitive bids and quotes, preliminary plans for Lincoln High School pool HVAC upgrades, and Head Start committee minutes. So those are for your review. And next are items of privilege, and I will, Kirsten mentioned it, but we have our work session with Next Board tomorrow evening to continue studying our district goals and using the information received from our community and student listening sessions held over the last couple of months, along with district data and needs assessment. And so I know we're looking forward to getting that work finished and getting back out to the community with what our shared goals are in the somewhat near future. So thanks in advance for the work we'll be doing tomorrow night, and to the staff for the work that they'll be continuing on Thursday morning. And does anybody else have anything to add for items of privilege? Any other items they want to share? Kirsten?
I just wanted to shout out our teachers and staff because I know that we are, it's ISASP testing month, which is the IO assessment, and I guess I haven't really talked to Tom about how it is here in Des Moines, but if it looks anything like it does in my own school, I know that adds additional stress to teachers and to staff and to kids and to families, and so, but the importance of those, we could go back and forth on, but it is something that the state sets forward for us to do. So it's, in our best interest to do the best that we can. So just a shout out to all the staff for all of the added stress that I know you've been tackling and helping your kids through. So
Thanks. Terry?
So we had our Schools Foundation meeting yesterday. We actually met at the Franklin Junior High building out on Franklin, really nice facility. But I have the pleasure of serving on the Nominating and Governance Committee. And so we are in the process of seeking individuals that would consider serving as members of the foundation board. And there are two things that we're really focused on right now, ethnic and racial diversity on the board, and then also geographic representation. Many of the individuals that are currently serving live probably in the south of Grand or the Roosevelt feeder pattern, and we're really looking to expand beyond that. So if board members have individuals from your respective director districts that you would like to recommend, I'm happy to receive names. We have a wonderful opportunity to sort of build out the board over the course of the next year, so I would definitely encourage you to reach out to me if you have individuals that you would like to have us consider. I do have a one-page sort of description of what we do and the responsibilities of board members that I can send out to everyone, but I'd love your support and assistance in identifying people. The foundation is doing really exciting work. I think they're sort of turning a corner now, and so there's great opportunity. With that opportunity, though, comes the challenge of having really good board members to help guide that work. So I'm reaching out to you and hoping that you'll help us do the things that we need to do to support Des Moines Public Schools.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll turn it over to Dr. Ahart for the superintendent's report.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to our building level staff, students and families for going through what is the first year of the new state assessment. Our staff is doing a wonderful job going through this first time, different experience. I'll not put it into any other editorializing about the value of the test. Also want to give a shout out especially to our ELL staff, because the ELL testing that we do every year as required by the state is really an arduous process. It's very time intensive, and lots of one-on-one time must be provided because there's a speaking, a listening, a reading and a writing component, and of course the listening and the speaking is a process unlike what we go through in any other area. So our team does a wonderful job of coordinating that work and testing, somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 students. So it takes a lot of time away from an instruction, unfortunately, but our team does a wonderful job of making that as painless as possible. I want to thank Heather and the rest of the board for their support of the CLAT again this year. That group now in year 3.
Yeah.
Year 3?
It's 4.
4? Is it 4 now? Yeah, I lose track. Is steadily gaining momentum and really helping more of our community have a voice in the legislative process. On that note, I did have a couple of conversations today regarding the extension of the statewide penny, and there's been a late move in the House to divert already allocated funds before 2029, when the sunset kicks in, to allocate some of those revenues that we've already bonded against toward property tax reduction, which is a really dangerous road to go down because for districts like Des Moines, and we are not unique in this sense, we have, I think, wisely bonded against those anticipated revenues so that we can make best use of those dollars pre-inflation, which is particularly rampant with construction costs. That would really put us in a difficult situation, and walking through with Representative Nunn today, if that happens, you're going to force districts like us to create other avenues to both be true to what we promised the community in our revenue tax purpose statement, while also making an 8th consecutive year of underfunding from the state work. There's just, we're at a breaking point here. And so you're going to see districts that haven't already going to their voters for a maximum voter-approved PEPL levy. We've not done that, and we have plans to do that, but lowering other levies at the same rate so that we're not changing our overall tax burden to the city as it comes from the district. But that's assuming that the promise that was made by the legislature when the statewide penny was adopted was going to hold true. And so when you start monkeying around with that, it puts us in deeper peril. So the fight is not over yet. The last CLAP meeting was on Saturday at Lincoln, but that doesn't mean that we can take our foot off the gas and make sure that we're holding our legislature accountable to what's best for our students. So that's just one more shout out to keep paying attention until the session is over. They're in all of the bills that have to do with appropriations now, and that can move fast and furious, and we need to make sure that we're keeping our eye on the prize and making sure that there's no last-minute dealings that's going to put us at further jeopardy. And, yeah.
I don't know enough about how other districts do their capital projects and how they utilize the statewide penny, but are others doing revenue bonds at the rate we are to support that work as well?
At the rate, yes. Not everyone, but most everyone, except for the smallest districts.
I think that would be really important, and if there are others whose bonding capacity is in jeopardy by virtue of that change, maybe a letter from all of those districts, because that's real dollars, that's real money. We've already
We've already committed it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Those
Yeah.
dollars are committed. And I mean, it's hard to even fathom that, and maybe they don't understand the implication of that change on districts that finance projects much the way we do.
I do think that that's part of it. I do think
Okay.
part of it is ignorance, but I will also tell you, in a conversation I had with Linda Fandel right after the session started regarding teacher leadership and compensation, and she said, "Why in Des Moines? Why is your balance so high in teacher leadership and compensation? Why do you have an unspent balance?" She said, "Would additional flexibility help?" And I said, "No, additional flexibility would not help. If you want me to spend that down, I can certainly do that, and I'll shift an unspent balance to somewhere else. We don't have the spending authority. Until we fix that basic problem, we are going, and we're not the only ones, ours always look bigger because of our size, but we can shift that somewhere else if that'll make you feel better, but it's still not doing good for our students." And that's, so I just say that to say that school finance is a bit complicated, and a lot of the folks who are making the decisions that really impact what we're able to do really don't understand it. So very valid point. So we are rounding up the troops and making sure that we're getting Nunn and some others on board, because the other thing that's exacerbating this, I think, is that Representative Loebsack, who does not represent us, has announced he's not running again. And so we have some state level representatives who want to compete for that seat. And now, on one side of the aisle, want to get into a contest to see how much they can demonstrate that they're doing something about the tax rate. So, I guess, so the note is, pay attention and let's hold our folks accountable and make sure we get this extension approved in the form that it passed the Senate, because we can all live with that, and that puts us in a place that we can hold true to the promise that we made to the community through 2029, and then we'll also have a known, assuming they don't mess around with it after that, of what will happen in the out years after 2029. And then my final note is just to all of our families and our high school students. It's for me a scary time of year because it's prom season, and spring is in the air, and just be careful, pay attention to what you're doing, keep an eye on where your students are going and when they're supposed to be there and when they're supposed to be getting home, so we can avoid any unnecessary tragedy this spring. That's all I have.
Thank you. With that, I will adjourn the meeting and we'll hold our work session shortly.